Welcome back, HeartStrings family. Today's story delves into the depths of human struggle and the transformative power of unexpected love. What if the person who saves your life is someone you never saw coming? Hi there, my name is Ethan, and this is the story of how I found a reason to live when I was ready to die. December 31st, 2023. New Year's Eve in New York City. While millions celebrated in Times Square, I sat alone in my dingy apartment in the Bronx, a razor blade in one hand and a bottle of whiskey in the other. I stared at my reflection in the cracked mirror, barely recognizing the gaunt face staring back. Dark circles under bloodshot eyes, arms covered in scars, some old, some fresh. "What have I become?" I whispered, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. "How did I get here?" It started with the band Shattered Reflections. We were going to make it big, change the world with our music. But the pressure, the late nights, the just one more drink, it all spiraled out of control. July 15th, 2022. The Bowery Ballroom, Lower East Side. Shattered Reflections had just finished our first sold-out show. I remember the rush, the electricity in the air. As we stumbled off stage, high on adrenaline, our manager Jake approached with a grin. "Boys, we've got label reps here. They want to meet you." My bandmates cheered, but I hesitated. We had a strict no alcohol policy before shows. It's what kept us sharp, focused. Jake noticed my hesitation. "Come on, Ethan. One drink won't kill you. This is your moment." I looked at my best friend and lead guitarist Chris. He shrugged, already reaching for a beer. "All right," I said, ignoring the knot in my stomach. "Just one." That one drink turned into many. By the time we met the label reps, I was buzzed, overconfident. I said yes to everything they proposed, ignoring the red flags in the contract. As I signed on the dotted line, I thought I was sealing our fate as rock stars. In reality, I was taking the first step towards losing everything. Fast forward to October 3rd, 2022. We were in Sunset Sound Studios, Los Angeles, struggling to record our debut album. After countless failed takes, tensions were running high. I was exhausted, running on caffeine and alcohol, my hands shaking as I tried to play. Despite Chris's concern and suggestion to call it a day, I couldn't bear to disappoint our producer or our manager Jake. In a moment of desperation, I turned to drugs, a gift from a fan that I'd been saving for emergencies. Chris tried to stop me, but I was too far gone, ignoring his pleas as I headed to the bathroom. That decision marked the beginning of the end for Shattered Reflections and my relationships with those closest to me. Months later, on New Year's Day 2023, I woke up on the floor of a trashed hotel room, my head pounding and my memory blank. My phone was flooded with missed calls from my girlfriend Mia and a damning voicemail from Jake. With a sense of dread, I turned on the TV to see footage of myself from the previous night's concert, stumbling, slurring, vomiting, and collapsing on stage. As fragments of memory returned, the argument with Chris, drinking to calm my nerves, Mia's tearful attempt to stop me, I realized I'd finally crossed a line. A text from Chris confirmed my fears. A band meeting was scheduled for that afternoon. But instead of facing the consequences of my actions, I made one last, fateful choice. I turned off my phone, raided the minibar, and disappeared. The thought of seeing the disappointment in their eyes, of hearing the inevitable words, was more than I could bear. So I ran, leaving behind the band, Mia, and everything I'd ever cared about. And that's how I ended up here in this dingy Bronx apartment, with nothing but my regrets and a razor blade for company. First, I lost the band. Then my girlfriend Mia. My family stopped returning my calls. Friends drifted away, tired of my broken promises and 3 a.m. drunken voicemails. I was alone. Truly, utterly alone. As the clock struck midnight and cheers erupted outside, I pressed the blade against my wrist. This was it. The end of my pathetic story. But then, a sound cut through the noise. A haunting melody drifting through my open window. It was beautiful, sad yet hopeful. Drawn by the music, I stumbled to the fire escape. There, in the alley below, stood a girl with a violin. Her eyes were closed as she played, swaying gently. As I sat on that fire escape, listening to the violin, these memories washed over me. For the first time in a year, I felt the full weight of my choices, the pain I'd caused others, and myself. But in that haunting melody, I also heard something else. A chance, a lifeline, a reason to try one more time. She looked up, startled. "Oh, I didn't think anyone was listening. It's something I'm working on. I call it Phoenix Rising." It's incredible," I said, meaning it. For the next hour, I sat on the cold pavement, listening to Riley play. We talked between songs. She was new to the city, chasing her dreams of becoming a composer. There was a light in her, a passion that I remembered having once. Days turned into weeks. Riley's music became my lifeline. She never judged, never pushed, but her presence was like a calm in the storm of my mind. Slowly, I opened up to her about my past, my addiction, my scars. She listened, really listened. "Ethan," she said one day, her voice gentle but firm. "Your story isn't over. These scars, these struggles, they're just chapters. But you get to write the rest." Her words hit me hard. That night, I poured every bottle of alcohol down the drain. The next day, with Riley by my side, I attended my first support group meeting. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to give up, to fall back into old habits. But Riley's faith in me never wavered. As months passed, I started writing music again. Riley and I collaborated, her violin weaving through my guitar riffs. We called ourselves Phoenix Rising after that first song I heard her play. As dawn broke on January 1st, 2024, I didn't know it yet, but my life was about to change forever. Let me take you through the journey of how Riley and I grew close, one day at a time. 2 weeks after our first meeting, I found myself sitting across from Riley in a small coffee shop in the Bronx. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, a stark contrast to the usual smell of stale alcohol that had become my constant companion. Riley stirred her tea, her eyes twinkling. "So, Ethan, tell me about your music." I hesitated, the weight of my past failures heavy on my shoulders. I used to write songs, but I'm not sure I remember how anymore." She reached across the table, her hand resting lightly on mine. The touch sent a jolt through me. When was the last time someone had touched me with such gentleness? Music isn't something you forget, Ethan. It's a part of you. Maybe you just need to listen for it again. As we left the coffee shop, Riley handed me a small notebook. "For when the music comes back," she said with a smile. Valentine's Day found us sitting on a bench in Van Cortlandt Park. A light snow was falling, dusting Riley's hair with tiny crystals that sparkled in the late afternoon sun. She leaned her head on my shoulder, her warmth seeping through my coat. "I've been working on a song," I blurted out. Riley's face lit up. "Really? Will you play it for me sometime?" I nodded, a mix of excitement and terror coursing through me. The New York and Poets Cafe was packed for open mic night. My palms were sweaty as I gripped my guitar, waiting for my turn. As I stepped onto the small stage, the spotlight blinding me, I saw Riley's encouraging smile. I took a deep breath and began to play. The song was raw, honest, a story of falling and rising, of finding light in the darkness. As I sang the last chorus, I locked eyes with Riley, and the world seemed to fade away until it was just us and the music. When I finished, there was a moment of silence before the cafe erupted in applause. But all I could see was Riley, wiping tears from her eyes as she mouthed, "I'm so proud of you." Later that night, as we walked home under the stars, Riley laced her fingers through mine. It felt like the most natural thing in the world. She looked up at me, a smile breaking through her tears. As fireworks painted the sky in brilliant colors, we held each other, our hearts beating in sync. As we left the cafe that night, hand in hand, I realized that Riley hadn't just helped me find my music again. She'd helped me find myself. And now here we are, about to step onto the stage at that cozy Greenwich Village cafe. A year ago, I was ready to end my story. But thanks to Riley, I'm ready to start a new chapter. Little did I know, the biggest challenge of our journey together is about to begin. It was January 1st, 2024, exactly 1 year after we met. Riley and I stood on that stage in a cozy Greenwich Village cafe. As we played our music, our story, I looked out at the crowd and saw familiar faces. My parents, tears in their eyes. Old bandmates nodding along. Even Mia, smiling encouragingly. I turned to Riley, overwhelmed with gratitude and something else. Love. As the song ended, I leaned in to kiss her. But Riley stepped back, pain in her eyes. "Ethan," she said softly, "there's something I need to tell you. I have terminal cancer. I found out right before I moved to New York. That's why I came here, to live my dream before." Her voice trailed off. The world seemed to stop. "But all this time? Why didn't you tell me?" Riley's eyes shimmered with tears. "Because you needed to find your strength, Ethan. Not for me, but for yourself." I felt like I was drowning. But then I looked at Riley, really looked at her. Despite everything, she was smiling, living, creating beauty in the face of darkness. In that moment, I made a choice. I took her hand and said, "Then we'll make every moment count." And we did. We played music, we laughed, we made love. When Riley's strength began to fade, I was there, holding her hand, playing our songs. On her last night, as I played Phoenix Rising on my guitar, Riley whispered, "Remember, Ethan, the music never really ends. It just changes." Riley passed away on June 15th, 2024. But her melody lives on in my heart, in my music, in every life I touch with my story.
As this story of redemption and healing comes to a close, we're left wondering, in a world where so many are drowning in their own darkness, how many potential lifelines are we walking past each day? How many melodies of hope are playing just outside our window, waiting to be heard? Share your stories of unexpected salvation and second chances in the comments below. This is HeartStrings, where every story touches a chord in our hearts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales of love in all its forms. Until next time, remember, sometimes the greatest love story isn't about how long you get to play your song, but how many hearts you touch with the music while it lasts.